Once upon a time, there was a very busy mother who went to a toy shop to buy a toy. It was one of those toys where babies try to put a round block in a round hole and a square block in a square hole. And she brought the toy home for her baby. The mother was very busy, so she put the toy down on the playmat and went away. The mother, of course, hoped that the baby would play with the toy and try to solve it. Let's look at what conditions are necessary for this to happen. What needs to happen first? I think the first thing is that the baby needs to notice the toy. There may be many things in the room. Why should the baby notice this particular toy? It helps if the toy is colourful, but there may be other colourful toys in the room. It definitely helps if the toy is new and feels mysterious. Babies are explorers by nature and are interested in new, attractive, mysterious things. It also helps for the mother to be interested in and maybe even fascinated by the toy for a little when she puts it down. It's the same in our English classes. When we introduce a new language target, we can introduce it in an attractive game or puzzle and let the children notice it. This is more powerful than showing, modelling, or demonstrating the language target. It also helps for the teacher to be interested in and maybe even fascinated by the language target. But noticing is not enough. There are a lot of things we notice, but that's all. We just notice them. What needs to happen next? I think the baby needs to choose to be more interested in this new toy than anything else. The baby needs to focus on the toy. What each of us focuses on at any time is a choice. Maybe a subconscious choice, but it is still a choice. If the baby wants or feels she needs the toy, it is because of a choice to focus on the toy. What qualities does the toy need to have for the baby to choose it? I think it is almost the same as with the previous step. The baby is most likely to choose something that is new, attractive, and mysterious, and which the mother is interested in. Especially mystery is important, and also trust in the mother. In the How Children Learn videos, I introduced Kelly's idea that we choose to move in one direction rather than another if we anticipate that the direction will enhance our world. Mystery generates anticipation. Also, if the baby has had previous experiences of being interested in new toys that the mother has put down that have led to positive outcomes, the baby is more likely to trust that this new toy will also lead to a positive outcome and so enhance her world. So much depends on the relationship with the mother and whether previous experiences where the baby has tried out new things have been successful or not. It is the same in our English class. The children are more likely to be interested in learning our new language targets if they are introduced in fun and mysterious ways, and if the children trust us. If their previous learning interactions with us have led to positive outcomes, they are more likely to choose to be interested when we introduce a new language target. So now the baby has noticed the toy and chosen to be interested in it. What needs to happen next? Even if the baby notices the toy and has decided she wants it, nothing much is going to happen if the baby doesn't take action and crawl towards it. This is where the baby is taking a risk, stepping out into the unknown. The baby needs to have what I call the Star Trek mentality. The baby needs to boldly go where she hasn't gone before. Of course, some babies are more likely to do this than other babies, but we need to look at what makes it more likely that a baby will take this risk. This is also where trust is really important. The baby needs to feel that previous explorations were interesting, successful, and led to an enhancement of her world. It is the same in the English class. If we want the children to learn, we need to encourage them to take risks. When we have children in classes who seem unwilling to take risks and seem rather passive, the easiest way is to just teach them. But if we do this, we are probably making it more likely that the children will just sit back and become even less willing to take risks, and so they will not learn effectively. Learning involves moving out of our comfort zones and challenging new things. So we need to build up the children's Star Trek mentality, not weaken it. The best way to do it is to always present new language targets through mystery, not in a clear way. In other words, to introduce the targets in a child-centered, not a teacher-centered way. For example, insert the new language targets in games as I demonstrated in the previous video, or through puzzles. We can do this gently at first, such as by gradually showing a picture and encouraging children to guess what it is, rather than just showing a picture and getting the children to repeat what it is. When we do this, it is important to always make sure the children succeed, with our hints if necessary. If they take gentle risks and are always successful, then gradually, over time, the children trust us and are more willing to take risks in our classes. In this way, we can build up their Star Trek mentality and encourage them to have more of a growth mindset. The baby has noticed the toy, has chosen to focus on it, and has crawled towards it. What needs to happen next? I think the baby needs to learn how to do the toy, by trial and error. The process of making mistakes and reflecting on those mistakes leads to a deeper understanding of how to solve the toy than just being shown how to do it. It is the same in the English class. In a child-centered approach, children work through problems by trial and error. In a teacher-centered approach, the children may practice new language targets through trial and error after a teacher has first explained, demonstrated, modeled, or drilled the new target. In a child-centered approach, the children learn new targets through trial and error. It is fundamentally quite different. The child-centered way generally leads to deeper learning. At some point, the baby can do the toy. This may happen after the baby has played with it a few times. In the English class, as I mentioned earlier, success is important. If we introduce new language targets through puzzles or mystery of some kind, and the children take the risk of trying to solve the puzzles, it is important that we make sure they succeed, so as to encourage them to be more positive about taking risks in future. I think this means we need a properly graded syllabus with achievable language targets, and we need to give hints to some or all of the children to help them think things through successfully. But success is not enough. There's a final stage which is really important. So now the baby can do the toy. So what? Does it matter? The knowledge of being able to do this individual toy is not going to change the baby's life. Something else is needed for that to happen. When the baby was trying to put the round block in the square hole and the square block in the round hole, what was the baby drawing on in order to try and solve the toy? What do you think? The baby was drawing on prior experience. To George Kelly in particular, and constructivists in general, the baby had noticed patterns and replications, and was using these to anticipate how to deal with this new experience. The baby has a mental framework of how she thinks the world works, based on patterns and replications that she has noticed. And she uses this framework to make guesses about new experiences she encounters. So what is important is for the baby to connect this new experience of solving this new toy with prior experience. If it doesn't connect, it is just isolated knowledge that has little value. If it connects and expands her mental framework, it enhances the baby's skill in being able to handle new experiences. It is, of course, the same in the English class. With some exceptions, such as when children are preparing to go overseas, or when they are preparing for a special event, learning individual bits of knowledge has limited long-term value. It is important to focus on the connections between items of knowledge and help the children build up a mental framework of how they think English works, with many interconnections between different parts of the framework, so that they will be able to make guesses about future things they encounter when learning. That is why things like grammar and phonics are important, provided they are learned actively as a framework for making guesses, not as rigid knowledge. Grammar and phonics focus on connections between items of knowledge. It also means that we need to do lots of activities where the children are combining new knowledge with old knowledge. For example, when playing the card racetrack game that I discussed in the previous video, I will often play with a long racetrack. Some cards in the racetrack would be for the new language target, but many of the cards would be for last week's target, last month's target, last year's target. In this way, the children are constantly switching between the new and the old. They are interlinking new knowledge with many different parts of their existing mental framework. Let's look at the baby next door. The mother next door is not busy. She goes to the toy shop, buys the same toy, and brings it home to her baby. When she gets home, she shows the baby the toy and demonstrates how to solve it. She then holds the baby's hands and helps the baby put the round block in the round hole and the square block in the square hole, and thinks, wow, my baby's a genius. Much better than the baby next door. But what is really happening here? One difference, I guess, is that over time, the first baby is more likely to become an autonomous, self-motivated learner. The second baby is more likely to become dependent on adults and less likely to be able to learn for herself. The first, child-centered method, where the baby was thinking things through and working things out, strengthens processing skills and builds creativity by helping children enhance their mental framework and so making it easier for them to predict and guess. The second method, where the mother showed the baby what to do, focuses on the result, not on the mental process. However, the second mother-centered or teacher-centered method can work. If it didn't work, nobody would ever teach with a teacher-centered method. All children are naturally able to process information and can do this when being shown what to do, at least to a certain extent. Some children have very good processing skills and can learn well even when just being shown what to do. In a traditional classroom, these children would be classified as intelligent and put in the top grade. I think a big problem in education is that most teachers have reasonably good processing skills and were classified as intelligent when they were at school. They did well at school, often in teacher-centered lessons. These teachers often have a tendency to think, "I could do it, so why can't you?" Maybe there is something wrong with you. Maybe you are just not intelligent enough. I didn't need all that child-centered stuff to build my processing skills. In fact, I think that teacher probably would have benefited from all that child-centered stuff, so as to achieve her full potential, and so as to strengthen her ability to look at things from the point of view of the children who don't do so well in her lessons. One of the key arguments in favor of a child-centered approach is that it strengthens mental processing and builds wider skills, whereas a teacher-centered approach tends to focus more on the final result. All of us can benefit from having stronger processing skills, even those who did very well at school. This workshop will be continued in the next video.